Evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing great. I hope you can hear me fine, see me fine. There's 56 of us. Hopefully, the numbers will increase as we go along. This is a very important topic I want to cover with you, flashpoints, and talking about very specific events, what they can mean, where they can come from, where they possibly could happen. And I will go into a lot of detail just now. But first, I want to ask you, how are you coping and dealing with what's happening in the country? Tell me in the comments. And it's certainly been an interesting time. And in South Africa now, we're in the last month of the year, December. It's the 7th today, so we just have a couple of weeks left of this year. And yet there's still so much to happen. And the ANC electoral conference for the new president starts on the 16th of December. And yeah, very, very interesting. Prepping, training, and praying. Hi, everyone. Hi, Vonnie. Hi, Mandarin. Barbara, Deirdre, Jureta. Hi. I can quickly announce that Graydon went for his eye operation this morning. It was a success. They could use the gas. So hopefully a follow-up operation won't be necessary, but there might still be complications. So thanks to everyone that made the contribution. And this community is absolutely super. To be able to help someone in an emergency like that is really stunning. So being part of this community has its benefits. And it's not always financial. The main thing is that we can help each other in so many different ways. The possibilities are endless. And here we share information with each other. So welcome to all of you in the chat. I want you to share the link with as many people as possible. This is open to anyone that wants to watch. We have over 130 people watching now, over 140. So keep on sharing the link. I hope more people will come into this live stream. We're going to be discussing flashpoints. So I'm not going to keep you for too long. Your evenings are precious. Tomorrow night I will be having my members live stream. Last week we covered the Bavarian Illuminati, the organization. Tomorrow night we will be covering the Bavarian Illuminati plan, the exact plan, how the plan came about, the details of the plan, and how it is being enacted today. So tonight, flashpoints, and we specifically speak about South Africa. And all of you are interested in this, and I will cover Eskom first because this is where I'm a true specialist. I am intricately involved within Eskom and power generation. I was a licensed reactor operator, and I was a trained operator, a trained instructor. I was a senior instructor. I was a senior engineering consultant, a project manager. And so I am very familiar with the power generation industry. I'm very familiar with how the national grid works, and how the Eskom infrastructure is put together. And at the moment, welcome to the over 200 people watching. Please share this link so more people can watch this live stream. We're going to be discussing flashpoints, and Eskom is first up. And it's very important that we speak about Eskom. And I have to tell you why I can speak with authority, more authority than most of the people you will see out there in mainstream media. Most of the real experts are not allowed to speak or will fear for their jobs. I'm in a very different boat, and therefore I speak to the public. I tell them how things are, whether they like it or not. And the people that have listened to my suggestions, because I'll never tell people what to do, hopefully you are benefiting from that today. And I had to go and get myself a new device, seeing that the other one did not last long during load shedding. I didn't expect it to last long. And the longer lasting devices last a lot longer. They're a lot more expensive. So you have to weigh up your options and decide what is right for you at any given point in time. But with regards to Eskom, we're at stage 6 load shedding. When I came home today from Kubik Nuclear Power Station, I was in massively long queues of cars in areas where there's normally hardly any traffic. And this is very relevant because when larger areas have their lights out, the load shedding might be for 2 hours, but more areas are done in one section. So in that session, you might have a vast area with lights out that causes traffic congestion. When you have traffic lights out, if you have to get out in any emergency under those conditions, a car is not going to be the way to do it. I traveled a distance that would normally take me 5 minutes or even less. It took me longer than half an hour to do today on back roads. And that was quite eye-opening. And I actually looked at the time, measured the time of day too, and considered and factored all of that in. So Eskom and the Eskom supply to the grid can certainly become a flashpoint. When will this become a flashpoint? And what is a flashpoint? A flashpoint is anything that causes a situation where you have to change the way you live. In other words, you either have to change how you live in your current circumstances. In other words, in your home or shelter where you are, you uh, you have to stay there. You can't leave there, or you have to leave your shelter. In other words, you have to go somewhere else for safety. And we will cover just now how you might be able to do that. So, any flashpoint is something that disrupts your way of life. In other words, if you usually go to work at 9 in the morning, come home at 5 in the evening, and that gets disrupted, you can't do that. And it's not because of a pandemic or anything like that, but because of something that is because of a flashpoint like an electricity crisis or food crisis or whatever the case may be, then you need to be aware of that because it's going to affect your life. And Eskom will probably be the greatest flashpoint the country can see. And not even food or water would get us there that fast. So if all the water infrastructure in the country had come to a standstill, funny enough, most people will just go to local dams or rivers to get water. And in many areas, there are dams, farm dams, there are rivers and things like that where people can get their water. There might be areas where it might be more of a problem. But for instance, in the Cape Metro where I live, there's lots of dams in neighborhoods and places like that. People will go to dams and they'll go fetch water. And the people that really trust government might actually go and get water from water tankers. When it comes to electricity, there's no one else but yourself that's going to supply you with that electricity. You can't go to a battery bank somewhere or someone else's generator to plug in. Like you going to a dam to actually get water, a public dam. In our area, we have two massive dams that can supply drinking water to people for an extended period of time. Anyone can go there and just get water. It doesn't work that way with electricity. We've become so dependent on electricity. So electricity is a massive, massive flashpoint. And where will it affect people the most? Where you need electricity to maintain stability. So any place where electricity is used to maintain stability. So streetlights is a form of security where you can see what's happening in the streets, who's walking there while you're driving, etc. Security cameras, and many other things work with electricity. If you lose electricity and that goes down, you might not have the supply if you not don't have an independent power supply at your home. If you're not off the grid or partially off the grid, you might lose what you trust currently as your security. And when that happens, firstly, people that are criminal starts making use of that situation within 2 hours. So currently, with our load shedding lasting 2 hours, it rolls around. It makes it difficult for gangs to organize around that. The moment you go to stage 4 and stage 6 load shedding, which is up to 6 hours a day, and depending on how the load shedding is being rolled out in different metros and areas, um, you might only see 2 hours, or you might see 3 hours or 4 hours at a time where you are load shed. You can certainly see criminal elements organizing, and this can create flashpoints, heavy flashpoints. If areas experiences blackouts, okay, and I'll explain how this can happen. In other words, an area such as the city of Cape Town or the city of Pretoria or the city of Joburg experiences an electricity blackout. In other words, the entire city goes dark. Within 2 hours, criminal elements typically would start taking advantage of that situation. You need to be aware of that flashpoint. So, people, I'm not talking civil war here. I am talking very realistic scenarios at the moment, and you need to be aware of that. So, Let me state upfront, I do not believe that this country will ever enter a full-on civil war where the entire country is involved in fighting each other, or race war or religious war, anything like that won't happen. It's not going to happen. People might disagree with me. I don't care what they say. When it comes to flashpoints, it's absolutely possible that events will happen, like happened in KwaZulu-Natal, like has happened in many other places. I've been in Knysna when an entire road is blocked all the way from George to Knysna, all the exit routes are blocked, and a crowd of people run at you with machetes and knobkieries. This happened to me. The police vans came rushing past us while the cars were turning around and getting a beeline out of there. These situations can happen at any stage, anywhere, and you need to be prepared for that. So electricity supply being down can be a flashpoint for criminal elements to start taking action that they wouldn't normally be as brash with. And you need to consider that. What will you do in an event like that? And often, in many circumstances, I would abandon where I live and remove myself to a place or situation where I cannot be influenced by that. Because losing your house is one thing, losing your life is another. You can do what you want, you need to be aware of that flashpoint. So, Eskom situation currently is this. We're at stage 6 load shedding. Tomorrow, Kubik Unit 1 is being shut down for a long duration outage to have steam generators replaced and many other things done. It's going to be at least 5 months where we will be without the best generating unit in the entire Eskom fleet. Let me repeat that. Kubik Unit 1 is the best, most reliable generating unit in the entire Eskom fleet. Think about that. And we are taking it down for the next 5 months. Hopefully, it will only be 5 months and not longer than that. But that is taking us into winter. Think about that. And that is a full stage of load shedding. So we're already at stage 6. You add Kubik Unit 1, and you are basically 7,000 megawatts down, and they would start implementing stage 8 load shedding. This is possible tomorrow if they don't get more units back. The next thing I need to explain to you that'll be a flashpoint is when Eskom's grid goes below 20,000 megawatt supply capacity. The moment that happens, the grid becomes more unstable than is acceptable. When it gets to 18,000 megawatts, you need to look out for that number. When the Eskom grid gets to 18,000 megawatts, it is extremely unstable, and the likelihood of a blackout in the event you lose a big unit is very good. Now, we are nowhere near that right now. Okay? So, people talking about blackouts at the moment, they don't know what they're talking about. But once the grid supply is below 18,000 megawatts and you lose a big unit, the grid frequency will drop, is very likely to drop below the grid separation frequency for all the generators. All of them will separate from the grid and will have a blackout. What will happen then is we will use black start capability units like Kubik, and hopefully Kubik Unit 2 will be able to house load and then rebuild the grid, or any of the Drakensberg units, if the dam levels are high enough, they will be able to black start the grid. We recently did a test at one of the new coal-fired power stations. I